Ezrat Hashem, we are Parashat Matot-Mas'eh. Let's speak about a little bit at the end of Parashat Matot. Something very interesting, a lesson for life. Am Israel, we're already at the end of the fourth book. This Shabbat, we're going to finish the fourth book of the Torah, Sefer Bamidbar. The fifth book is going to be just a repetition of all the four books. Okay, so this is called Mishneh Torah, the repetition of the Torah, and it's written by Moshe Rabbeinu himself, right? Hashem for sure tells him what to write, but he's saying over the history of 40 years. Now, what's happening over here, we are about to go to Israel. So the way it works, it was the following way. We went to Har Sinai, from coming out from Mitzrayim, right? 7 days, went in front of the Red Sea. The Red Sea splits, we cross, the Egyptians get drowned, walking 3 days in the desert. There's no water, they asked for water, they got water. In direction towards Har Sinai, we're going to Mount Sinai, right? Getting there, we received the Torah, which is 3 months after coming out from Egypt, which is Vav Sivan. Then Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching us the Torah, because when you're learning something, as long as it's fresh, it's much easier to digest and to understand. But once you go away from it, to repeat it, it's much harder. So we stayed in front of Sinai 1 year minus 10 days. So the Pesukim, Rashi shows you from the Pesukim, like everything is documented in the Torah. So we made there 1 year almost. Then Hashem says, okay, go ahead. Go to Israel. Next week's parasha, Parashat Devarim, the parasha is revealing to us that from Har Sinai, walking by foot towards the Jordan and crossing the Jordan, being in Israel, it's exactly 11 days. Walking, 11 days. Hashem, what does he do? He doesn't want to tire Am Israel with 11 days of walking with babies. We make it in 3 days. 3 days. So 3 days, we're in front of the Jordan, and we're about to cross. Okay? What happens now? The Meraglim, the story of all the spies. The tribes come to Moshe Rabbeinu, no, we cannot cross, we don't know what's there, how we have to plan, we need a strategy, how are you going to do that, okay? So they say, okay, so let's do a plan. So Moshe Rabbeinu has no choice, he has to send the spies. They send the spies, they come back, they speak slander, they speak Lashon Hara, and unfortunately, that costs 40 years extra in the desert. 40 years finished, the old generation, from 20 to 60 die. Whoever was under 20 at that time of the story, whoever was above 60, stayed alive. And now it's a new generation coming into Israel. The kids, the children of the older generation, they are the ones coming into Israel. Okay? So basically, those kids, they were under 20 or just newborns coming out of Egypt, right? Born in the desert, about to come to Israel. Let's see how this new generation looks like. We're about to cross, and then a group of 2 tribes, like a few head of the tribe, come, Bnei Gad u'Bnei Reuven. The children of Gad and the children of Reuven, 2 tribes. They come to Moshe Rabbeinu, and they say, please Moshe, don't make us cross the Jordan. We would like to stay on the east side of the Jordan instead of going to the west side, which is Israel. Israel is on the west side. We would like to stay in the east. We would like to stay in the regions of Sichon and Og that we just finished conquering. We just finished conquering Sichon and Og, 2 giants. They took over the whole region, humongous region in the desert, right? And they say that this is more adapted to their needs. The Torah said, did not make it up, because Mikneh Atzum, Rav Atzum, Ale Bnei Gad Reuven, they had flocks, but which multiplied in an unusual way. So they needed really a huge region like the desert, like those places they cannot go into Israel, right? For their parnasah, their parnasah is their shepherds. The story is that Moshe Rabbeinu gets upset. Moshe Rabbeinu is very upset. He says, what? You repeating a story of 40 years back, you're repeating it now. 40 years ago, your parents came to me and they said they don't want to cross the Yarden. What happens? Hashem punished them for 40 years. So they died and you're the new generation, you're their kids. And you're repeating the same mistake as your fathers? I don't believe it. So he got really upset with them. So then they said, right? They said, Chas v'shalom. Vayikshu elav vayemru. He said, no. You don't understand. We really mean to help also. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is telling him, you know what you're doing? When somebody says that he's not going, that means he's scared. And if he's scared, he makes everybody scared. That's why Rashi, Parashat Ki explains, the Torah explains, when they used to go to war, they used to make an announcement. Only who is not scared, only the one who's not scared is allowed to go out to war. If you're scared for anything, don't even come. Why? Rashi says, the first soldiers to retreat make scare all the soldiers, and that's the loss of the war. Right? So after many announcements, who's scared, who's this, who's that, whoever stayed had to fight to the end. And if not, there was policemen in the front of the war with sticks. If you're trying to retreat to go back, they hit you. Why? Because if you retreat, you make everybody scared. So as Moshe Rabbeinu is telling them, now you're going to make everybody scared, and everybody says, oh, why Gad and Reuven don't want to go? There's something fishy over here, so we all also don't want to go. And what? Another 40 years, who knows much more? He gets upset, and they say, Chad Shalom, and to show our goodwill and faith, and to show that to everybody that we really have a need to stay in the other side of the Jordan, which is the east side, we are going to go ahead of our brothers and fight with them. The only thing, we're going to have to build fences for our flocks, right? Cities for our wives and children, right? And then we're willing to go to war with our brothers, right? Till they settle in Israel. Okay? So Moshe Rabbeinu is asking them, okay, so you really mean that? You really mean you're going to quickly build up fences around your flocks, cities for your wives and children? They don't have to build new cities. They have already cities which they conquered. They just have to, maybe a small wall or something. So it's going to be a few months and they're ready to come. Or maybe not even a few months, maybe earlier, right? So what happened was, they promised to go, to cross, to fight, and to help their brothers conquer and build Israel. Whatever is why. Because the Gemara is telling us, the Canaanim, what they do, when they saw they're about to lose everything, they destroyed Israel. They destroyed the buildings, they destroyed their houses, they destroyed the fields. They said, if we have to get out of here, they're not going to enjoy the country. So let them rebuild the country if it takes, right? And unfortunately, they broke everything, they destroyed everything, and we had to rebuild everything. If you look at Tanakh, if you look at Sefer Yoshua, it took 7 years to build Israel back. In 7 years, everybody had to build in their own parts of the regions of the country that they got. They had to build the houses, they took care of the fields, 7 years, right? So imagine a little bit, Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven, the children of Gad, children, going to war with their brothers, fighting. Yeshua says in the book of Yeshua, 7 years. 7 years they had to conquer 31 kings. There were 31 kings in Israel. At that time, like today, every king in the east, south, west, right, the west, the north, wanted to have a piece of a land in Israel. So every king came and conquered a piece of Israel, built himself a palace, and like this in Israel, you had 31 kings in different regions ruling, right, in their region, but 31. But you have to fight those 31. And they had to go from one king to the other to fight to conquer back Israel, the promised land, to Avraham Avinu. Right, 7 years. And then the country was destroyed. They had to rebuild it 7 years. So make a cheshbon. So Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven were missing their families. They didn't go back. They stayed in Israel 14 years without seeing their wife and children. So imagine if one of the soldiers of Bnei Gad and Reuven left his wife pregnant, he didn't see the bar mitzvah of his son. He didn't see the brit milah of his son. He didn't see the bar mitzvah of his son. Right? But the promise is a promise. They promised, and they were loyal to their promise. They were loyal to the promise. Okay, this is like the story. I'm just telling you what you're going to read Shabbat. This is the story. But now I want to bring out what the commentaries bring out from this story. Okay? The commentaries, they bring out from the story the following thing. The Ibn Ezra, right? The Kliyakar, and a few other commentaries. He said, who approached Moshe Rabbeinu? Bnei Gad u Bnei Reuven. Who is older? Reuven or Gad?
Reuven.
Reuven is the Bechor. Gad, right, is the seventh kid, right?
Okay.
As should have been
Gad.
Bnei Reuven
V'Gad.
u Bnei Gad. Right? Second remark. If you look at their words in the Torah, they promise to come, and they promise to conquer, and they promise to help, and they promise to build for the one. You don't find even one time God's name. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to come with you, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to help you, and nothing. Where is Be'ezrat Hashem? No Be'ezrat Hashem? No Im Yirtzeh Hashem? The Zohar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, the biggest success of Yosef in Mitzrayim, the biggest success in Mitzrayim, why it was so successful, he was going from one success to another, till becoming the second or maybe the ruler of Egypt. Everything he used to say, he says, Im Yirtzeh Hashem. This was his key words. Im Yirtzeh Hashem. God willing. God willing. Potiphar used to tell him, go get me a cup of water. God willing, I'll bring you one. Go sweep the floor. God willing. Every step of his life was God willing, God willing. Says the Zohar, this is the key word to success in life. Over here, they're saying, we're going to go to war, we're going to settle you. Eh? Not even one time. Be'ezrat Hashem, Yirtzeh Hashem. Nothing of that. Third remark in the parasha, they're saying, Vayikshu elav, they approach Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayomru, and they say, Gidrot tzon nivne lemiknenu. We'll build fences around our flocks, right, to protect our flocks. Ve'arim letapenu, and cities for our babies and our wives. Who is more important?
The babies.
Your wife, your flock is more, your sheeps, right, whatever you have, is more important than your wife and babies. First, you're building you're surrounding and watching over your flocks before building a house for your wife and children, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, the commentaries say, Moshe Rabbeinu, when he takes their words and answers them, he's going to take step by step and going to show them their mistake.
Rebuke them.
It's a rebuke, but he's going to show them how to speak, if you want to say. You know, how to, so to speak. So he's telling them, Vayomer aleim Moshe. And Moshe is telling, that's the seventh aliyah of the Torah of Parashat Matot. Vayomer aleim Moshe. And Moshe is telling them, im et hadavar hazeh ta'asun. Listen, im techalitzu lifnei Adonai lamilchama. If you go in front of Hashem to war. So he's already introducing Hashem's name, right? And he's telling you, v'nichbesh haaretz, and v'nichbesh haaretz lifnei Adonai. And the land is going to be conquered in front of God. So every step he's mentioning God, right? And he says, and also, benu lachem, build yourself, arim letapechem, build city to your children and your wives. And then, ugedrot letzonachem. And then you surround your flocks and you protect them. Right? So Moshe Rabbeinu basically is telling them that in life there's priority. There's not priority. First comes Hashem. Im Yirtzeh Hashem, Be'ezrat Hashem, Hashem will help, Hashem. Second of all, it's your wife and family. Okay? Third of all, is your parnasah. Their flocks is their parnasah. This is how they make money, right? The Gemara says, with sheep, you get 100% profit. Which means you get wool, you get milk, you get meat when you need, right? From their hooves, from the thing you can make. They used to make, maybe not today, but used to make how do you call this for knives? The handles for the knives and for forks, right? Right. So it used to make this. and yes, rams, if you have the rams, the male, right? You have shofar, right? You can do. They used to have 100% profit, so it's a very successful at that time. The Gemara says whoever wants to be successful, if you want to do the best business at that time, not today, maybe buy yourself a herd of sheep, of rams, all those things. You may get a lot of money, right? Okay, it's your parnasa, we understand, but you have to understand your parnasa cannot come before your wife and kids. First of all, take care of your wife and kids. Then comes the parnasa, and know that also Hashem takes care of you, right? So first, talk to Hashem. Then you take care of your wife and kids, and then you take care of the rest, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu is basically teaching them that in life there is priorities. There's priorities in life, okay? So the commentaries say this was a lesson to those two tribes. So that's why Moshe Rabbeinu is scared for them. I don't know if they got the lesson. I spoke to them. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I spoke to them. So let's now, you know what we do? Now I'm going to have to take one of the other tribes of the 10 tribes, and split a tribe, and join it to the other two tribes.
Menashe.
Who does he take? He takes Menashe. The tribe of Menashe is split into half. They didn't ask. They didn't come to ask. No one asked Menashe to split and come to them, join them, and they didn't even want. But Moshe Rabbeinu is telling him, please, I know that you are able to do the job. You will watch over your two brothers, Reuven and Gad, right? They need some moral support. They need some more spiritual support, right? So Menashe, they were very strong in Torah, right? So Moshe said, let half of the tribe go and help their brothers, right? When we read Tanakh, there's something as a very interesting story. At the end of those 14 years, right? Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven are going back to their land. They're going back to their land, right? What happens is, they're about to cross the Jordan. They pick up a big stone, right? And they build an altar. They build an altar to make sacrifices. Right away, you cannot keep anything in secret. The news come to the ears of the other tribes, and they come to war. They're about to fight them in war, civil war, like brother war, right? Why is that? They asked them, why did you build an altar? We have the Mishkan, we have the sanctuary. So means what? Already you're thinking about something else than God, because you're not allowed to bring sacrifices out of the sanctuary.
Right.
So they said, Chas v'shalom, that was not at all the intention. And they explained themselves. They say, after 14 years, where they made war, they helped their brothers, they settled the brothers, they're about to go back to their home, their wives, their kids, their flocks, and everything, they realized they made the mistakes of their life. We should not have asked to stay in the east side. Coming into Israel, seeing the beauty of Israel, building Israel, right? Helping. This is where we should have been with our wife and children. But it's too late. The country is already divided to 9.5 tribes. Nothing left for them. If you would have came, we give you a region, but it's too late now. Now they're saying we regret it. But the biggest regret is not only that. The biggest regret is one day the children of Israel, the 9.5 tribes, they're going to tell the other children, which are brothers, like we're all brothers, they're going to tell, maybe you're not Jewish. Why didn't you come to Israel? What's the reason you didn't come to Israel? Right? So maybe there's a problem with your Judaism, right? Maybe Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want you in the land. Maybe God didn't want you in the land of Israel, right? So they say, wow, if this is going to happen, our children are going to suffer from that, right? So they right away build an altar, write their names, Bnei Gad, Bnei Reuven, we're here, help build the country, help fight for the country, help build the country. So never, it's like a monument. So basically, it's a monument saying, we were here also, right? And we tried to help to build the country. So, Oh,
ויאמר?
yeah, Chazak, Kli Yakar's question. Kli Yakar says, Vayomer bnei Gad. He says because God spoke before his brother. Normally, we come to speak together, and normally Reuven should speak before he's the oldest, right? God took the initiative to speak before his brother. That's what Kli Yakar asking. No kavod, no respect for your older brother. Why are you speaking for your brother? That's exactly the Kli Yakar's question.
גם בני זה פלורל.
זה מה שהוא אומר, כן.
אז לא צריך, ויאמר בן גד. בני?
No, Bene.
אז לא ויאמר.
No, but yeah, just to tell, it's only one person speaking, right? Even there were a delegation, not all of them spoke. So the representative of God, he spoke before Bnei Reuven. The representative of God. This is the Pshat. Comes the Arizal and throws us out with Kabbalah,
קבלה.
right? Comes the Arizal and he says, you know what? Even if they would have wanted to go to Israel, God would not accept them. Those 2.5 tribes, the 2.5 tribes, not the 2, the 2.5, right? They were not meant to come into Israel. Lama.
מה
Listen to
שעשה.
this.
ראובן, בלבל.
Right?
אה,
Hashem says, whoever goes to Israel has to be pure 100%. This is the Holy Land. We call it the Holy Land. What happened to Reuven?
אה.
Yaakov gets married to 2 sisters, but the first marriage, he thinks he's getting Rachel, which he worked for 7 years. He's getting Leah. So basically, she becomes pregnant the first night. And what happens? He doesn't know it's Leah. He doesn't know it's Leah. Yeah, he thinks it's Rachel. So it comes out his mind was not purely with his wife. He was thinking about Rachel when actually he's with Leah. So this is not 100% pure. Chad v'shalom, Yaakov, Leah, tzaddikim, right?
Okay.
The Ramban is asking a question, and the Ramban says everything depends on the woman, right? There's halacha even. When a person, he cannot be with his wife and think about his Chad v'shalom secretary or a beautiful woman that he saw in the week. Chad v'shalom, this is asur, completely asur. Over here we're speaking about patriarch. But this patriarch was so innocent, he was so pure, he was thinking about, after 7 years, finally I'm marrying the wife I worked for 7 years. Who are you giving him? You switch around and you give him Leah, right? So he was with another woman. That's not for his level, such high level, was not 100% pure. So Hashem said, this baby, Reuven, does not go to Israel, the Holy Land. So after many years, he's going to be in Egypt, 210 years, whatever. But this tribe, which the head, Reuven, did not come from purity, 100% purity, doesn't go into Israel. What's the story with God? It comes the Arizal and he reveals to us what happened with God. Look at the story of God. The story of God was Rachel is coming to Yaakov and she's telling him, listen, I don't have children. You must help me, right? So he told him, what do you want from me? I'm not God. Ask God. He says, no, I have an idea for you. Your grandfather, Abraham, when Sarah couldn't have children, right? What happened? Sarah gave Hagar to her husband. So she gave her servant. I'll give you my servant, and you're going to have children with her. And maybe through that, I'm going to have my own children. So who does she give him? Bil'ah. She gives him Bil'ah with permission of Yaakov. Could you take my servant? He says, okay, I accept. And then she had Dan and Naphtali, and afterwards she was able to have Yosef and Binyamin. Leah hears that. What does Leah do? Leah takes her servant, Zilpah, and she tells Yaakov, here, take because Leah, after the fourth child, she couldn't have any more babies. But ta'amod miledet, she stopped giving birth. So she takes Zilpah, and she tells Yaakov, take my servant. Says the Arizal, why are you forcing your husband? You have already 4 kids. Rachel didn't have children, so she can ask, and she came and she asked, could you take my servant and be like your grandfather Abraham? And he says, okay, I'm willing to do this for you. You come and you take your servant and you're forcing your husband to be with his servant of yours? Not so acceptable. Who is coming out of this union? God. Says Hashem, this is not pure enough. This is not coming into Israel. This kid is not coming into Israel. Because you forced your husband to take your servant, so the kid born from this relationship, I'm not going to bring him into Israel. 210 years later, not coming into Israel. Comes now the third and most interesting part. Menashe. What did Menashe do? Who is Menashe? Menashe is the son of Yosef and Asenat. Who is Asenat? Asenat is the daughter of Dinah that was unfortunately abused by Shechem ben Hamor. She was Jewish. Asenat was Jewish. The father, Shechem, was not Jewish. Who was born? Dinah. What's Dinah? Half and half. Jewish and not Jewish. She has a baby called Menashe. Right? The first baby is Menashe. Says Hashem, so only the Jewish part of Menashe is coming to Israel. What I'm going to do? Split the tribe in half. The part of the tribe that came from Shechem goes out of Israel.
She had a baby to Shem?
Sure. Asnat.
היא באה משכם היא באה? אסנת?
Yeah.
היא לא באה משמעון?
No, Asnat. Yeah, Asnat came from Shechem. Shechem abused Dinah, and she had Asnat. Asnat was sent to Egypt.
בביאה אחת הוא הכניס לה?
Many. Rashi says many. Because she was captured. He captured her. He didn't release her.
But she was underage, no? Like she was very little.
Yeah, she was. But in the olden days, they used to get married young.
No, but she could...
She was around maybe 9, 10 years old.
But
But don't forget, at that age, they were big.
אמא שלי ב-12
Yeah. So, you see what happens over here? Hashem says, we have to split Menashe. Why don't we split Naphtali? Why don't we split, I don't know, Shimon? Why Menashe? Because Menashe was born from a relation where half is Jewish, half not. So the half Jewish stays in Israel, the non-Jewish part goes out of Israel.
But how did they know?
Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Hashem which part of the tribe to divide in half. Who can know such things? Only the Arizal, Al Pi Kabbalah. To tell you, right? Everything has a reason in the Torah.
Yes.
We read the Pshat. We just read, okay, they came, they wanted them. But there is things happening up there which are much more deeper than what we think. Okay? And with this concludes the story, right? Of Matot, right? And then the parasha is going to continue with Mas'eh, which are the voyages. All the 42 Masa'ot that they went to. But we'll stop here, right? We'll go a little bit to a different subject.